Here are the upcoming new games this 2022. Sa mga mahilig sa arcade games, King of Fighters 15. Isang fighting game na long-running series na nag-start pa noong 90s. Every release nila ng game, it's always improving ang gameplay mechanics at ang kanyang graphics. This game is already out and pwede nyo nang laruin. Available sa PC, PS4, PS5, and Xbox. Up next is Planet or Planet, a MMO shooter embedded in the reality of science fiction. Production takes player to a robot-controlled where mankind has to fight for survival. Shooter game na nag-base around sa pag-attach ng exoskeleton tech sa character for buffs and upgrades. This game is being developed by Pearl Abyss na gumawa ng Black Desert series. Kung fan ka ng games nila, you are going to enjoy this. Mukhang promising ang game na to, coming out this year sa PC, PS4, and Xbox. Up next is Nightingale. Nightingale is a first-person PvE open-world survival crafting game played solo or cooperatively with friends. Para sa mga fans ng survival games like The Forest or Ark Survival, ang game na to ay nagre-resolve sa pag-resource gathering, crafting at base building and pag-defend ng base sa mga giant and many other types of enemy with Victorian era settings. Keep an eye on this one coming this 2022 sa PC. Up next is Dead Space Remake, is an upcoming science fiction survival horror video game developed by Motive Studios and published by Electronic Arts. Isa ito sa tingin ko na madaming naghihintay na ma-release. It's a remake ng first game ng Dead Space series. This game is a horror shooter survival game set in, you guess it, space. The story is about a deep space mining ship na nawalan ng contact after makapag-mine ng isang artifact sa isang unknown planet. And you're trying to find out what happened. This game will be available either 2022 or 2023, so watch out. Coming on PC, PS5, and Xbox. Up next is Ark Raiders, a free-to-play co-op third-person shooter where you and your squad of raiders unite to resist the onslaught of Ark. Ark is a ruthless mechanized threat descending from space. So sa news na nakita namin, the game is a looter-shooter game na ang enemies are AI-controlled robots. Wala pang ibang details na nilalabas about this game pero it's looking to be just another good co-op game. Good graphics and I hope sana maganda yung gameplay. TBA this 2022. Next is Outer Worlds 2 or The Outer Worlds 2, a sequel to the successful and beloved RPG from Obsidian, is happening. In-announce ang sequel last summer of 2021 during Microsoft and Bethesda's E3 showcase. The first game ng Outer Worlds ay available sa lahat ng platform pero since binili ng Microsoft ang Obsidian, maybe maging exclusive na lang ito sa Xbox and hindi na magiging available for the Sony PlayStation. Not sure. Kung fan ka tulad ng mga earlier games ng Fallout series, magugustuhan mo to since it was developed by some of the original guys na gumawa ng Fallout series. Trailer pa lang ang na-release nila, wala pang gameplay. Release date will be TBA from Xbox Game Studios developer, so watch out na lang. Up next is KERBAL Space Program 2, an upcoming spaceflight simulation video game developed by Intercept Games and published by Private Division. It's basically the same game from the first one pero iba na ang nag-develop. Pero sa nakita natin, they will stick to what made the original game fun with much better graphics and hoping sana gumanda pa lalo ang game mechanics, especially if you're building a new prototype space station or anything you want. Meron siyang single and multiplayer. You can build your own space rocket, moon base, interstellar travel, your own space station, and much more. This game is set to be released this year. . Up next is Stray. Stray is an adventure game na ang main character is a cat. Yes, pusa, muning, meow meow ang magiging character dito. The story is about you, the cat, getting through the city which is populated by only robots. Ang main goal here is to go home to your family kung tao ba sila or robot or mga pusa din. We don't know. Ang gameplay nito is most likely be traversal and puzzle solving since you're only a cat. Release date TBA 2022. Up next is Saints Row. Saints Row is an open world sandbox much like the famed GTA series. Ito na yung 6th release ng franchise na nagkapelang sa format ng GTA. But since then, nakahanap na sila ng sariling identity and uniqueness. Itong latest entry nila will make you busy with the huge open world map, especially sa pag-customize based on the trailer they release. You can customize your character from top to bottom. Your weapon, vehicle, pati na din ang magiging headquarters mo. We will be enjoying this wild ride on August 23, 2022. Up next is Evil West. A third-person shooter adventure game, although sa pinakita sa trailer na mas na-emphasize ang melee combat. The world is set in the Wild West where you battle monsters in a Diablo-like environment. The graphics are very cool and it's shown that you have these abilities and finishers and what looks like a shock gauntlet as a main weapon. If the game is as good as it looks, it should be in your to-buy list. The game is set to release this year. Next is Marvel's Midnight Suns, a turn-based RPG based on certain Marvel Comics characters developed by the guys who made XCOM. So that would make the mechanics of this game basically bulletproof. If you're a fan of a turn-based tactical combat and Marvel heroes, this should make you excited. We can enjoy this game when it releases on the 3rd or 4th quarter this year. Up next is REDFALL. This game is from Arcane Studios, the developer that brought you the Dishonored series. And most recently, Deathloop now kung same din ba ang powers and traversal methods as those games were not sure. It's an open world action adventure shooter game na pwedeng laruin ng single player or multiplayer. You can choose between 4 playable characters and ang main enemy is vampires. This game is set to release this September. Up next is Gotham Knights, an open world set in the DC universe where Batman has died and has left 4 of the remaining Bat family in charge of keeping Gotham safe. This universe is not connected to the Arkham games but an entirely different story. You play as any of the 4 members, Robin, Nightwing, Batgirl, and Red Hood, all of which have different specialties and unique skill trees. This game can be played solo or multiplayer via drop-in drop-out online co-op. Ang fighting mechanics is the same sa Arkham series pero with a few changes because the game has some RPG elements tulad ng pag-level up. And since ang mga kalaban ang nagdadrop ng loot, maybe meron din crafting mechanics but we're not entirely sure. Keep an eye on this game which will be releasing this October 25, 2022. Next is Dying Light 2 Stay Human. The second game of the same name is an open world zombie game with RPG mechanics. The second game just really improves on what made the first game so successful. It has a great story and great combat and traversal mechanics which are the bread and butter of the game. Be careful lang kapag nilaro nyo ito sa gabi nang naka-headset just like the first game. Nakakatakot pa rin siya lalo na sa first hour ng gameplay mo and is already available to purchase and play. Up next is Atomic Heart, an open-world first-person shooter set in alternate reality in the USSR. The game looks like a blend of Fallout and BioShock. In the trailer, it shows the player having these weird abilities with ice and levitating some enemies, which would make combat very interesting. The enemies in the game look mostly robots and mostly like the majority of them. But we also see some zombie-like creatures in there. How it all ties in the story, we will know when it comes out late this year. Up next, Forspoken, a third-person adventure game with insanely good-looking graphics. You are playing this regular girl, Frey, from New York, who suddenly gets transported to the fantasy world of Atia, thus with the goal of defeating basically an evil witch known as the Tantas who control Atia. To help you do this, you have been given a talking magical cuff that grants you supernatural abilities and movement, making traversal of this giant world a treat. We will be enjoying this game this October 12, 2022. Up next is The Day Before, an open-world MMO survival set in a deadly post-pandemic America. Killing zombies and other survivors para sa mga loots like ng mga pagkain, guns, and cars. Madaming nagsasabi na isa ito sa mga games na ambitious or too good to be true ang gameplay, especially ang graphics dahil indie lang ang developer. Third-person shooting game like The Division and The Last of Us, for me para din siyang State of Decay with much more details sa graphics. Let's find out kung ano ang mangyayari sa game this coming June 21, 2022, kung mag-match ba yung mismong gameplay ng game compare sa mga gameplay trailer na nirelease nila. Coming on PC, Xbox, and PS5. A Plague Tale Requiem, direct sequel ng unang laro na A Plague Tale Innocence. Ito ay linear storytelling game na may elements ng RPG tulad ng pag-craft at pag-upgrade ng weapons and accessories. Ang story ay umiikot kay Amicia the Rune at sa kanyang kapatid na si Hugo na may power to control rats. Based sa nakita nating gameplay sa trailer and clips, meron ng stealth takedown si Amicia. Meron din siyang bagong crossbow na magpapa-improve ng combat mechanics ng game kumpara sa unang laro na slingshot lang ang kanyang gamit. May kita din natin sa trailer na nawala na ata ang power ni Hugo na makontrol yung mga rats. Malalaman natin this coming June 17, 2022 sa PS5, Xbox Series, PC at Nintendo Switch.